Greetings, everyone. Last week, we recorded a video talking about building rural homes. We were focusing on the drilling of boreholes in rural communities. Thank you so much for the new ideas that we got from people, some as far as the United States, that wrote to us giving us advice on how this should be done. We had said in the previous video that you can drill a borehole for about 1,500 US dollars. Others, of course, came up with cheaper prices for about 1,000 US dollars. You can drill a borehole in Zimbabwe. But of course, our areas are different. We have people that are coming from areas which are dry, and of course others who come from areas where water is not very too deep underground. So we then received advice which we are sharing with you. Some workers that we're speaking to after the video are saying while one might not be able to raise the 1,000 US dollars because of the economic conditions, as workers were being paid, we get paid low wages, we have families, we have other bills that we take care of. So raising 1,000 US dollars might be difficult to most of the workers that are doing low-paying jobs. So what the advice which we are sharing with you, some comrades then suggested that let's look into a cooperative setup in a village, maybe say 10 homesteads. We identify land where we want to do an irrigation. The advice is that it is in that area where people can come together and drill a borehole. If you raise as a community, even if you are in the diaspora, raise about 1,000 US dollars, you drill a borehole in an area that you have identified as an area where you can do agricultural work or an irrigation, a mini irrigation scheme. The argument has been that most people cannot afford to raise money to drill their own boreholes, but it can work in a cooperative setup. And secondly, because those that might raise money are in the diaspora, might not in the initial stages be involved in the practical agricultural work that will happen. So there is need, therefore, for the community in the diaspora to raise money to drill borehole and partner in some cooperative with the locals in the village that will be doing the physical agricultural work. That's the first advice that we got. The second advice, as we're discussing, and we don't know what you might think about this advice. The second one says a person who buys, if you are working in the diaspora, you buy, say, a house in Pumula South, for example, as an example. You do not live in that house because you are in the diaspora. You spend most of your time in the diaspora. Your kids, you are with them. They are school going in the diaspora. You only visit your house maybe once or a year or once in 2 years. You are not really utilizing it. So why then not prepare for your retirement? Because the argument which we're discussing with other comrades and after we recorded that video is that it is far much better to retire in a rural setup where we have access to doing some farming as opposed to retire in a town, in a high density suburb, be it in Harare, be it in Mtare, be in Gweru, because you wake up in the morning, you have nothing to do, you are now retired, there's no activity that you do because you are basically retired. So you only wake up in the morning, roam around the township or the high density suburb as we call them in Zimbabwe. But if you retire in a rural home where you have partnered in some cooperative with others and drilled a borehole, created some irrigation scheme. You can, every morning you'll be going to do some farming, you share beds where you'll be able to do your farming, as opposed to spending your retirement time in a high density suburb. Yes, there are those that have been coming together, raising money, buying the borehole drilling machinery, which costed about 2 million rands. It requires lots of people to participate in that cooperative venture of buying such a drilling machinery, which some, of course, might not afford. And it might actually take months or even more than 2 years or so for them to rotate in terms of drilling for everyone. But if in your village, you are in the diaspora, or the people that you come with from your village, you are in the diaspora, you can come together, raise money, or up to about 2,000 US dollars, whatever money that you raise, the money that should be for drilling of a borehole, money that will be used to fence the land that you want to use. Like we said, that in most communal lands, land is not sold, and there are people who are no longer using their fields. If you go in communal lands, you'll find that there are fields that are no longer in use. So such land can be utilized for modernization. You turn those into some irrigation scheme, as opposed to what we call ifus. But if you come together and negotiate with the village head, you might have access to that land. And of course, and if you then want to go to the farming community where people have been recycled ever since from 2000, and if you can have that, it will be a bonus. So we want then to hear your views, because after we recorded the first video on this, a number of comrades wrote to us sharing their own views, which they were saying we need to pass over to you, so that you have this discussion, that it is important that you come together as a village, you raise money for the drilling of the borehole. This is in preparation for retirement. Just imagine that if you are 50 years today, in the next few years, you'll be retired. Where are you going to spend your retirement? I will not mention someone who's already 60, because if you are 60, you lose your job, you not get another job. Even if you are 50, if you lose your job, chances are zero or are very minimal that you will get another job. So you'll be forced into early retirement because of the economic conditions. And you know that there are youth formations that are saying people over 50 should not be employed, or those that are employed should actually take early retirement to open space for young people who are in their early 20s to have a chance of working. So let's think deep around the question of retirement, to say, where do you want to spend your retirement? Do you want to spend your retirement in Mbare, in Sakuva, in Makwekwe, where you will be waking up in the morning doing nothing? And you know that if your body is used in waking up at 5 o'clock, going to work, coming late in the evening, you are tired, and suddenly you wake up doing nothing, you surely, my friend, you are going to die early. But if you are in the village, you wake up, you go to the fields, you go look after your goats and so forth, it actually means that you might live longer. Otherwise, comrades, please share your views. Let's have this discussion as we talk about retirement. I am Ngabuto Nicholas Mapena. Please write your comments, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you. Goodbye.